talk about degrees, but we are here to talk about your book, which I read a little bit about it, a little bit, which the preview is available online because it's not out yet. Armageddon Approaching, uncover the hopeful truth about end times biblical prophecy. I do have to say, what I was able to read in the preview, um, it's really interesting because, like, with those types of books, I'm like, okay, cool. All right, I know what the scripture says, but your book really, the preview, it really gave me some new
We really need to
perspective.
know sometimes when something's complete or there's a new season is another part of spiritual discernment in our lives.
Yeah,
We hold on when we should let go, and we delay when we should begin. We're so afraid we don't get started, and then
right.
because our security is in what we're doing instead of in the calling of God. So discerning spiritual discernment also has to do idea. Am I aware of in my relationship with God? How is God speaking to me? Am I willing to accept the new calling and what God has for me? The
Right.
classic stories is Esther in Persia. I wrote a whole book on her life. God revealed her story to me 4 or 5 years ago. It's called Destiny. It's not a
Hmm.
long, but it's worth reading. When she thought her destiny was to be the queen of Persia, that's not her destiny. Anybody could be a queen. That was
Mm,
not her destiny. And when Mordecai said there is a plot to annihilate us, right? He said, you've got to go to the king. She didn't want to go. She
right.
told Mordecai, she said, well, I'm not going to get involved. Think about that. Because she thought her destiny was to be in a palace. She thought, well, if I got a comfortable life here, if I go approach the king and he doesn't like it, I could be disfavored, lose my position. But think about that. And he said, who knows whether you've come to the kingdom for such a time as this?
Mm,
And he said, if you don't intervene, God will raise up another. None of us is indispensable. And then she said, he had to go back to her. And she didn't even see him. He had to give a note to a messenger. That's her uncle. She's an exile of war. She was a child in that Babylonian war. She's a victim of war, exiled to a foreign land, and somehow becomes a queen, and nobody even knew she was a Jew.
right.
And then he said, who knows, but that you've come to the kingdom for such a time as this. In other words, you didn't come to the kingdom to be a queen.
Mhm.
And that was not Esther's destiny. And she prayed 3 days and fasted. Remember that? At every break.
Right, right.
Her destiny was to be the intercessor to save her people. Our position is not our destiny. And sometimes we get in a position, we think that's our destiny, and it's time to go to a different place. We say, no, no, my security is in my position. Your job is not your destiny. Your position is not your destiny. Your destiny is always higher. Esther was not destined to be the queen. She was destined to save her people. She was destined to be an intercessor.
Mm,
She almost missed the whole point. She missed the time. That was the strategic time. That's when she needed to be there for that one time. She didn't need to be there for anything else. She didn't do anything else in Persia but be a beautiful queen, which is great. But she almost missed the one thing, the one reason God put her there, because she couldn't discern. Talk about his returning, even in Matthew 24, you'll hear wars or rumors of wars. He then said, see that you be not troubled.
right,
So don't be troubled, right? There will
right.
be famines and earthquakes and pestilence. He said, all these are the beginning of sorrows. All these things must take place, but the end is not yet. So
Yeah.
he over and over said, don't be alarmed. John 16:33, in this world you'll have tribulation, but be of good courage. I've overcome the world. I've spoken these things to you that in me you might have peace. In this world you'll have tribulation. In him you have peace. Inside a world of tribulation. He's overcome the world.
Yeah.
God's in control of the world, is what he means.
We're gonna be having some serious fun.
Yeah, we
I
are
don't know what we're
heaven
gonna
for
be
him.
doing up there, but if anything, I don't know what we're gonna be doing, but I would love to eat as much cake as I want, eat as much pie as I want, mac and cheese, go to the lake and, get some fish with Jesus. Wouldn't that be cool? Be just like, yeah, I'm gonna go fishing and be like, let me get my pole. I'm coming too.
I'm going to eat varsity onion rings and coconut cake. I'm going to relate to them and communicate with them. I've got to understand what's going on in the world today so that I can bring the hope of Christ to them. And many people become irrelevant in their life and ministry because they don't understand the times they're going, well, that's not true. That's a hoax. That's not real. Doesn't matter. This is where people are,
Yeah.
what they think. So can we go to them and engage them in a conversation and understand the times in which we live?
Mm. Yeah. Some nuggets.
Hagar called him El Roy, the God who sees me, when she was out in the desert the first time and ran away from home, and her little boy had no water, and the angel of the Lord appeared, and God, speaking for God, says God sees you, then showed her an oasis, and she named God El Roy, the God who sees. 16:1-3, Jesus told the Pharisees, you can discern the weather, but you cannot discern the signs of the times. And at the end of his life, as he had toward the cross and he left Jerusalem, it says that he wept. He wept. Luke 19:44. And he said to the people, you missed the day of God's coming to you. You missed the day of God's coming to you. God visits you, but since you had your mind made up about what the Messiah is, you missed the day. Think about it. You missed the day God visited you, and he wept. They could not discern him as the Messiah. They had their mind so made up, and they were so angry that he threatened their religious tradition of legalism.
There's this one particular sentence that really spoke to me in that portion, and it says, but the Bible assures us that the world lies safely in the hands of God. Its future destiny is not termination, but transformation when God ushers a new heaven and a new book is about Armageddon approaching. Uncover the hopeful truth about end times and biblical prophecy. Um, this is a thought that I had, which when the book comes out, it will probably be one of the first Armageddon, but books that I probably end up picking up and reading. And I say that because of the different point of view of it. And with this was my thought after I finished the preview of it. And I said, with what I read, and I said the rapture brings anxiety and peace at the same time. And to prepare the message is to read the word. Um, Now this is for baby Christians. It's funny because I'm gonna stop right here before I'm gonna talk a little bit, give you some time to rest. to talk. The other day, it was so funny because the other day, because I was going to ask a question for the baby Christians out there. And I remember I was sitting in the car with my daughter. A thought came to my mind. And, this is me just trying to measure my growth at that point with me and my relationship with the Lord. We always talk about, being a baby, drinking milk, before you eat food, those sermons. And it was a thought, and I said out loud with my daughter in the car, and I said, I think I'm a baby Christian. And my daughter's eyes were big, and my daughter was like, well, if you're a baby, then I'm in the womb. so and so then I looked at my daughter and I was like, okay, I'll graduate to a toddler just so you can be out for a little bit. Um, but for the baby Christians out there, after reading this, we always tell people, read the word, read the word. That's what you need to have a relationship with Christ. But when we I find when the message to read the word, there are those who are having difficulty just even beginning to read the word in the first place. Um, for those who find this difficult, like what baby steps or maybe even womb steps, after what my daughter can they do today?
Focus on your mission. Let God manage the future.
That's digesting.